What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. We're going to be talking about Paint today. This is a movie with Owen Wilson that on the surface looks like a Bob Ross biopic. However, if you're going into this movie expecting a Bob Ross biopic, you're going to be very disappointed. The film stars Owen Wilson as Carl Nargle, as Vermont's #1 publicized television painter who is convinced that he has it all. That is, until Ambroisa, played by Ciara Renee, comes into the picture and steals everything and everyone he loves. And like I said, if you're going into this movie expecting a Bob Ross biopic, you're going to be very disappointed because that is not what this movie is. And it's going to be especially disappointing because Owen Wilson looks exactly like Bob Ross. And this has nothing to do with Bob Ross. It looks like Bob Ross, it might talk like Bob Ross, but it's not Bob Ross. This film is written and directed by first-time writer and director Britt McAdams, and I think he does a really good job of giving us a little quirky comedy that, to me, did not work for me at all. I thought this movie was a little bit flat, to say the least. I think there are some moments here and there where the comedy does hit and land. There is some heart here and there, but majority of the characters are really unlikable. But it's really hard for me to get behind a film that you only like the main character and everybody doesn't feel very likable at all. Owen Wilson has been back in the past couple of years trying to get back into acting, following his personal issues, and every single time that I see him on screen, I have a smile on my face. I have loved Owen Wilson for the longest. He was somebody that I grew up watching, and just seeing him back on the big screens and the small screen, I think it's fantastic. Every single time that I see him on screen, he just lights my world up and he puts a smile on my face. And with this movie, he does the very best that he possibly can to give us this character that is kind of semi-likable, almost unlikable. There are a few traits in this character that you kind of see why people don't like him, and you kind of feel for him when this new character comes in and takes everything that he's been working for, and just seeing that kind of get taken away from him to a certain extent. Everybody loves watching this guy paint. The only issue when it comes to him, he doesn't paint anything else. He just really likes to paint the landscapes and mountains and everything, kind of like Bob Ross. This almost feels like it could have been a Bob Ross biopic, but instead they're saying that this character is inspired by Bob Ross. I'm sorry, but there are so many things that look like Bob Ross to make it look like it was inspired by Bob Ross. It looks like Bob Ross. I'm not going to get into that again, but you get where I'm going with this. But he makes Carl kind of feel likable. Yeah, he has some issues here and there, but once you see everything get taken away from him, it kind of has a really nice charm to it. Like I said, there is a little bit of heart here and there. I really like the chemistry between him and Michaela Watkins, who plays Catherine, his ex, that he is still madly in love with. And I think both of them play very strong. I think those are the two actors that have strong chemistry together. When it comes down to Ambroisa, played by Ciara Renee, I think she did a fantastic job in this movie. However, sometimes her character was not really somebody that I wanted to get behind. I was not able to find the appeal of her character, and there were just some moments here and there where she actually worked for me, but other times this character just fell flat. You also have Stephen Root, who plays Carl's manager slash owner of this network where he is painting on, and I think there are some good traits to this character. However, once you get to know this character, it kind of feels like he is a bit scummy and kind of fake. There are some qualities in him that I kind of liked, and I kind of liked his character, but overall, he wasn't one that I was able to get behind as well. You also have Wendi Mclendon-Covey, who I think is fantastic. She works in this movie, doesn't have a lot of screen presence, but I think she does a really good job of portraying the character that she's playing. Aside from the writing and directing, this movie is not that long of a movie. It's only about 98 minutes, and sometimes it flies by, other times I was just bored and really not interested. But even though it did not work for me, everybody that I saw this movie with at the Regal Mystery Movie, they were having a blast. So this movie might work for you. It was just one that kind of didn't work for me. Also, another thing that kind of feels inconsistent is the time period that this film is taking place. It doesn't really give us a time period as to when this film takes place, but it does feel like it's taking place in the early 90s, late 80s maybe. But there is a moment in this movie where somebody is calling up an Uber and they say they're calling an Uber. So I'm not sure if it's supposed to be taking place in our current time or if it's supposed to be taking place back in the 80s or 90s. But that was one of the issues that kind of struck to me. It was the time period that this film kind of doesn't know where it's taking place. But overall, I'm going to go ahead and give Paint a 3 out of 10. This movie just was not for me. It didn't work as much as I thought it was going to. There are some moments in here where the comedy does hit. Other times it just feels flat. The writing from time to time just doesn't work and doesn't really mesh all together. But those are my thoughts on Paint. If you guys checked that out at the Regal Mystery, go ahead and drop your thoughts in the comments below about what you thought. Maybe I'm in the minority and you guys liked it a little bit more than me. But other than that, if you guys are excited for this movie, go ahead and let me know if you are going to be checking it out in theaters or if you're going to wait until it's on VOD or streaming. This is a movie you definitely don't have to run out to theaters to see, but if you are interested in this movie, I would definitely recommend that you guys check it out in theaters at least. But until next time, I'll catch you guys on the flip side.